Hello and welcome to Thursday Morning with LindaZ. Today is a really special day. We're going to give you a little bit of an excerpt of an event that we had just a short time ago with Kate Toney, one of the Bernina educators. This year is a very special year for Bernina. They've come out with a top-of-the-line machine, the 990. We love it. We're carrying it. We have it. And so you're going to get to see some of the excerpts of that event that we had here at the store later on in this video. But you know what time of year it is right now is the Madison Quilt Show that takes place in Madison next week. And so we are feverishly getting ready for that. And we just wanted to let you know that this is the first year in many, many years that we are not the booth representing Bernina at that Madison Quilt Show. However, you all know that we carry Bernina and that we are wanting to take care of our customer base that we have grown over the last 10 years at the Madison show. And so we want to take care of you, and we want to let you know that we are not only preparing for the Madison Quilt Show, but we are also preparing for a huge event that will take place in October that LindaZ is sponsoring. It's called our Fall Festival. And the 990 and many other machines will be available at that Fall Festival. And we just wanted you to be aware that starting right now, we have that pricing available. We have machines available and we have that pricing available, you know, show pricing, that kind of thing. So please look at us, find us, come and talk to us. Our booth number is 501. Come see us, give us a hug, give us a hello. We'd love to see your smiling faces. But now, Linda and Kate Toney, Bernina educator, take it away.
I'm going to tell you a little story about Kate. I went to Detroit, as many of you know, to Bernina University, and I was so excited to see this machine. And I had not met you before, Kate. You were really, you know, I've seen her, I know what she's doing, but I came to her class and I was kind of observing what she was doing with some of the new Bernina owners, and it was such a joy to see. Immediately, you put them at ease. Immediately.
Thank you.
Have you ever been in a class that you've never been to anything like it before, and you're kind of nervous when you come and sit down at the machine, and then the teacher comes over and says, "Why didn't you thread that properly?" What do you want to do? Go home, right? Or sink right under the table? You'll never find that with Kate. She was one of the most kind and joyful people that I have ever met as a teacher in a class. And so I knew when we found that she could come to show you what is so great and joyous about this new 990, she would be the perfect educator. So let's give her a warm welcome and turn it over to her.
Well, thank you. Turn on my mic. Hi, thank you so much. That was so kind of you to say. So hello, I'm Kate Toney. I'm the embroidery education specialist. I joined the Bernina education team at the end of 2022. Before that, I had been an event team member, so I did this. I traveled around and I taught the Stitchwise events and all of those wonderful things. And before that, I worked in a store. So I'm quickly approaching 10 years of working in stores and with Bernina and all of those wonderful things. So here it is, the beautiful B990. We are gonna have time at the end. We're gonna kind of, if you can't tell, my vibe is a little loosey-goosey. Shocking news, right? I'm gonna follow where we go. We are going to figure out what you guys want to hear more about. If I see blank faces, I'm gonna keep moving. That's apparently something not moving you quite the same way. And at the end, we're gonna stop. I'm gonna get the machine embroidering. You can come up and touch the machine. We'll do that as well for anybody who wants to do that. Comes with all these wonderful accessories. It comes with the high thread tension bobbin case, this slide-on table, which has 3 feet on it, 2 feet here and here, and then one right here that comes down during embroidery to make it really stable. I'm obsessed with it. It comes all the way underneath. If you have a Bernina right now, your slide-on table has a little bit of a bump right here, and you have to kind of wiggle around. You can still do the one with the bump. It can still come under the free arm. Don't worry about that. Just give it a little wiggle. But this clears it smoothly because there's no bump. Ooh. And then those feet that come down, simple. Of course, our freehand system, dust covers. I know I shouldn't be so keen on these dust covers, but I am. They're just really substantial. They're different than dust covers we've had before. I know, I like them. I keep forcing this upon everybody for me to talk about the dust covers. The flap comes so that you can get to the handle and still move it with the dust cover on, which is really nice. There's a pocket out to the back to fit the extension table and the hoop. There is a zipper on the side for your foot pedal. But my favorite thing is we now have a module dust cover. That's the good one, right? So this is for the free arm. This is to go on your module. So this is for the free arm, and then the part with the prongs that plugs into the machine is right here, and you can cover them. I actually cover mine now. We're gonna talk about the Help Center now. This is all built right into your machine. So we get some people who will be nervous about taking home their first Bernina. It's a big baby, right? And if it's your first Bernina, it's a lot to learn. And even if it's not, there's a lot in this machine that's new. But that's okay, because right at your fingertips, we have a quick start guide. We have the user manual is on board in addition to the hard copy that you get. We didn't take it out of there. You still, in your boxes, get to have the user manual. Yep, big size, full size. Nothing small and tiny, big, real size. And then here's where we have our consultant. If you have a Bernina and you know about the creative consultant, this is where the creative consultant is now. So with Quick Start, this is a great place to get started. You can do your threading animations. They have instructions on how to start. This is where we're going, right? Right now, when you bring the machine home. Then we have the Help Center, and you can search. You can actually search throughout the Help Center. So you're like, oh, I don't remember the steps to do scanning, which won't be a thing because it prompts you right through it. I don't know how to do my bobbin. You can just search bobbin. It'll pop up with the articles related, just like you're on any other website, right? So we're going to our menu. And then down at the bottom, we see our machine. And here's our Help Center. So you can come in to the consultant. What are we gonna do? Are we gonna be doing a sewing technique, an embroidery technique, or a quilting technique? Let's go sewing, since I have embroidery covered, but sewing I can be a bit of a mess. We're gonna come in and we're gonna do a buttonhole. You can come over here and select your fabric. So now, if you've ever used Consultant before, it's been like, I have to guess what these icons mean. Now we can see right here, lightweight woven, medium weight woven, heavyweight woven. We're gonna do this in denim. And it's gonna let us know how to set up our machine. The thread, the bobbin thread, if we need stabilizer. This comes with the gold bobbin case. That's the high thread tension bobbin case. It's just if you need a little extra tension in the bobbin area because we can't adjust this bobbin ourselves like we could on an 8 series. You can go ahead and put in the gold bobbin and it'll give you a little bit of extra tension to the back. So this shows us how we set everything up. If you want to change hover, stitch length, and what stitch to use, what presser foot pressure, all sorts of incredible things. And then we have our tutorial. And the tutorials are new. They have tips that help you as well. There are icons. There are pictures to show you what's going on. So it will walk you through exactly how to do the buttonhole, or how to put in a zipper, or how to do certain types of free motion or embroidery techniques, whatever. There's so much information in here. So then you can go ahead and do it. But I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, yeah, that's real helpful when I start to stitch out and I have to exit out of that screen, right? Okay, then my tutorial is gone. Well, no. Right here we have a QR code. It generates a QR code for you. You take your phone, just your regular camera app if you've never done a QR code, and there's my tutorial right on my device. So right here from my phone, I'm reading and I'm like, yeah, okay, this is what I'm gonna do. I hit my green check.
What does it say?
It says, do you want to apply the settings?
And you say yes.
And I say, yep.
Then can you change it?
and it set my presser foot pressure, it set my foot, it brought me over into buttonholes, the whole thing. Because one of the new features about this machine is stitch plate recognition. So over here on the side, you can see the 9mm, yes. It says that I have 9mm. And just so you know, with a Bernina, the things that are yellow are edited away from default. If it's yellow, it's edited away from default. So see how once I edit that this is presser foot pressure, while I'm editing it in this machine, it's blue. Once I change the presser foot pressure, I almost always sew with my presser foot pressure turned down, about 25. I like it. I don't want it to choke my fabric out. So I set mine, leave it, and then over here, you'll be able to see that you changed it. So if you're looking at a glance really quick and you're like, what all did I just do? Maybe you got to wander away. Unfortunately, we have to, use the bathroom, eat, go to sleep. These unfortunate things that we have to, that take away from our sewing time, except for the eating and sleeping part. But that's fun too. You can come back and see, okay, so I changed the foot, I changed this, and then right here, watch on the screen right at the 9mm. It has read that I don't have a stitch plate on. Because it's red right now. Right now it's red. Sorry, my big old head in the way. Right now it's red. And then keep watching, keep watching, keep watching. Ta-da! It knows I have on my 5.5mm now. So these are Bernina stitch plates. You see, no tools needed. That's one of the best things about it. You don't have to go find that screwdriver for that. These stitch plates have a little sensor, and that sensor gets read by the machine, and now you don't have to worry about setting that yourself. On previous Berninas, you have to set that yourself. And then if you lie to your machine, or if you have a little brain hiccup like I get, a lot of them, then you're like, oh yeah, no, I definitely have on the 9mm stitch plate, but you still have on the straight stitch plate, and you do a zigzag and it sends the needle right into the stitch plate, and you hear that horrible crunch. It is such a scary sound because you told the machine different than what you did. We can't do that now with this machine. My feet go back and forth between the machines. This doesn't need different feet, but my stitch plates stay to the machines now. My 790 stitch plates stay with my 790, and my 990 stay with my 990 because of the sensor. You don't have to be delicate with this sensor. That's a question we're getting. This isn't like, now it's precious cargo. You don't want to play kick the can with it, but we can find the medium ground. The good news is you get this wonderful accessory box, and there are slots in there to keep this safe. So my accessory box, my machine doesn't travel with me. I come here and the machine's already here, right? I don't do a lot of classes or anything. So what I do with my accessory box, these all come out. I take this out and I put it in my drawers. What a great question. What kind of stitch plates come with it? So you're gonna get 3 different stitch plates. You're gonna get the straight stitch plate for embroidery, is the main thing we use it for, straight stitching as well. You're gonna get the 9mm stitch plate because this does 9mm wide stitches. And then you're gonna get the 5.5mm stitch plate. This can be used for sewing if you want a 5.5mm stitch, maximum stitch width. This is great for my garment sewers. 5.5 is really nice because you can still get a good zigzag, but it's not 9mm that can sometimes eat delicate fabrics or things like that. Not every garment sewist is in love with a 9mm stitch width. More importantly, with the 5.5mm stitch, this is where we get our integrated BSR. This machine has an integrated stitch regulator. So no longer do you have to take the foot, plug it into the back of the machine, and only use that foot to do your regulated stitching, whether you're doing art stitching or, most likely for most people, quilting your own quilts. It will tell you what stitch plate to use. You can only use the 5.5 millimeter with the BSR because it's got an opening right here. Integrated means any Bernina hopping foot you can do stitch regulation on now. Okay, so hopping feet are the ones with springs that allow you to do free motion. So previously with the Bernina stitch regulator, you could only use the Bernina stitch regulator in those 3 feet, right? And people always say, well, what about ruler work? Will you come out with a ruler work foot? Blah, blah, blah. Not happening. Now with this machine, or I guess I know nothing about that, if that's happening or not, I should say. Yeah, nothing I say is gospel, trust that. Well, something. Anyway, stop, Kate. Let's focus. Let's focus. Get her back in the game, everybody. With this machine, you can use any one of our free motion feet. So ruler work foot, we have a free motion couching foot. Any of our free motion feet you can now use with stitch regulation. I tap BISR and we get the integrated stitch regulator menu. We can still do the zigzag, that's why it's a 5.5 millimeter and not the straight stitch plate, because you can do a zigzag or a straight stitch. We have BSR mode 1. This is a constant needle speed. You stop moving, the needle is still gonna go. This is great for really delicate, I like to do like micro stippling or micro pebbles. You want to use BSR mode 1 for that. But it tends to be that people are afraid of BSR mode 1 because the needle will keep stitching. Don't fear it. Don't fear it, embrace it. You'll get there also as you keep going. You can change the idle needle speed if you would like. That is going to be, if you're like me, that's too high level. I'm not worried about that, okay? I'm not gonna worry about it till I think I have to worry about it. And you can also change your stitches per inch. You also don't have to worry about that. BSR mode 2, when you stop moving the fabric, the needle stops. This is a great place to get started because there's like an inherent pressure that people feel when the needle keeps moving when they've stopped moving their fabric. They're terrified they're gonna get the booger on the bottom, things like that. So start in BSR mode 2, graduate up to BSR mode 1, or use BSR mode 1 for really small designs. And then we also have basting. You can do 4 stitches per inch basting or 2 stitches per inch basting. I like to do manual mode. After all my practice and things like that, I like to stitch regulate myself. But I still want kickstart. So this is really nice because I can turn off the the stitch regulation, but I can use kickstart. If you've been on a Bernina before, you can see that the user interface looks similar, right? It's not a whole new interface for you to learn. It's pretty similar to our Pro and any of our current model machines. One thing that's different is over here to the side looks a little different, our menu. These are all of our wonderful stitches. We have decorative stitches, alphabets, buttonholes, quilting stitches, so that's gonna be where our blanket stitches, things like that. Personal folder where we have saved designs. If you had a USB stick in the machine, it would glow blue right here. And then we have our stitch designer because of course we can design our own stitches and do whatever we want to do, I know. But you can also edit stitches in here. So we have 2,927 stitches in this machine. You can edit every single one of those stitches. So if we go into our decorative stitches, my favorite new folder is the 1900 folder. I just like a lot of these new stitches that are in here. This is one of my favorites. Super, super cute, right? But let's be honest, I rarely have the patience for it. So what I'm gonna do instead is save it and embroider it. So let me show you something really cool. A really cool new feature is the jumbo stitch. So I come into, this is our edit menu, used to be called the information icon, now called the edit menu. It's a little pen. I came to the jumbo stitch. Look, it's labeled. So when you get home, you don't have to go, which icon did she say was the jumbo stitch? Right here. We can increase any one of the stitches in the machine by up to 500%. And it recalculates the stitches. Now we don't have like basting stitches, right? It's gonna recalculate our stitches. So we can do this using the multifunction knob, or, and once again, it's yellow because it's edited, right? Or we can use our plus 100 to get up to 500% bigger. Here's where I want to show you my wonderful, I'm gonna close out, we can get this beautiful full screen view. We also have the view toolbar now, where we can zoom in on the stitch with our, or zoom out so that we can see more of what's happening. I can turn on a grid view. Oh, we're just not seeing it because it's so da, da, da. I can tap back to default. That's one of my favorite things, is I can just tap and it goes back to default. So now we can see our grid back behind us. We can turn off the foot if we don't care to see that foot preview. And then we can go, one sec, right here, and we can change the view right and left. There's some getting used to of feeding a 500% increased stitch through your machine. Mainly that's us, because we have to let the machine do what it's gonna do. We have the best feed dogs. If you've got this machine, you've got incredible feed dogs, you need to let them do what they wanna do. You are not gonna hold on to the fabric and push and pull. You're not gonna tell the machine where it's gonna go. In Bernina, we do fingertip sewing. We just make sure it's going left and right nicely. But if you're like me and you don't have the patience for that, right? No amount of chamomile tea is gonna chill me out, unfortunately. I can come down here to the save icon. I can save this as a new default. So if you had a buttonhole that you love and you're only ever gonna use it on this type of fabric, you could edit it and then save it as the new default, or we can do new stitch. And now I can name my stitches. Woohoo! So I could name it whatever I want. This one's gonna be called Kate because I'm vain like that. And then it will save it into our personal folder. Or if you're much more organized than I am, you can create your own folder. And so we could say, like, I'm not gonna spell decorative in front of you because it'd be embarrassing. Decorative.
Just say deck.
Yeah, I went deco, stitches.
Oh, it takes space to save.
Now I can save into that folder and save all my decorative stitches. Here's what I would do, because I have no patience. I would come over to the embroidery side and I would embroider that jumbo stitch. So the Bernina extension, the file type for Berninas, we were just talking about this at the break actually. The Bernina reads like 7 different file types. We read Janome and Brother and all these different file types. The native file type for Bernina is .exp. That's what we're gonna read best. That's how you're gonna get your color information on here. But you can read, so if you have, you know, a bunch of Brother files, if you have a bunch of Janome files, something like that, you can put them in here and it's gonna read it. New with this machine, which I haven't mentioned yet, getting ahead of myself a little bit. New with the 790 Pro, we could read BQM files. Those are Bernina Qmatic files, long arm files. So that's so that we can infinitely resize these quilting designs. We can make them any size and shape we want and then quilt them out onto our quilts. In the inspirations folder, we have 4 folders that have designs that are from the marketing materials for this machine. I love the quilt designs because it has that very like kitschy, Mary Blair sort of look that I love so much. So here are all these wonderful designs right in here. If you tap and hold, you get design information. This tells us the stitch time, the stitch count, the thread colors, the recommended hoop, and the design size. So we tap through and we can see information about all of our designs right there in the folder. And then when we've chosen what works best, we tap this folder. Beautiful. I'm gonna come over and I'm gonna tell it I'm in a giant hoop. So here we have our quilting design here. We have our wonderful design. I'm gonna come in and I'm gonna add another design. I'm gonna go ahead. Oh, so what you're seeing here, this are the new bounding boxes. this is the new bounding box around the design. We have these nodes on every corner and on each side. And then we have a handle at the top to rotate. So using my new touch gestures, I can rotate right there on screen. I can make smaller or bigger. If you come in to rotate, you can see that we also have this slider right here. So you could slide to rotate as you please, and we just tap to get back to default, okay? But this new bounding box around the design, if you're like me and you're just wham bam, let's go, I would just resize till it looks all right. And now I have just these two designs that I want to make one design to put on a quilt. I'm going to do show, start, stop. Now I can see with the green plus where it starts sewing and the red plus where it stops sewing. So if I were to put those together and do like I would do on other Berninas and go like this with my multifunction knobs and zoom in to make sure they're exactly perfect, right? This would stitch, even if I had them perfect, this would stitch, it would stop, it would come up here and start stitching. That will not do. These designs are fully customizable. So with the top one selected, I am going to flip, start, stop. And with the push of the button, I just made it so it will start stitching here, stop stitching here, and start stitching here. Okay? You can do that with you can flip, start, stop on any customizable quilting design. I like to have show, start, stop on all the time for all my designs. But wait, there's more, right? Because of course there is. I'm going to come down to selection options. We now have selection options. You can select some of your layers, multi-layer, or you can select everything with the push of a button. So I'm going to do multi-layer select, and I'm going to highlight both layers. I know that they're highlighted because they're blue, and then because my bounding box is around both of them. Match, start, stop. That is how I would connect them. I would hit group. Now they're one design. I can go stitch it out as one design. And you would do the same thing. You would do that match, start, stop to fill your whole hoop with these designs to do edge-to-edge quilting. So you're seeing these touch gestures I'm using. We can zoom in with our fingers just like on a tablet, right? Try and get my hand in there. We can pan around the screen. You can do this with this menu open, or you can close the menu to get a full screen view of what we have going on. Another cool thing, let's say I want to edit these two together, but this one at the bottom is perfect. It's this guy then. One of my favorite things, truly, this is my favorite new feature. Or I guess it dukes it out at the top for one of my favorite new features, but it's pretty, I'm happy for it to take the belt. I'm going to tap and hold, and up pops my context menu. This is a shortcut menu. I can lock my layer. I can tap this, and it'll say, do you want to unlock? And sure, now I can edit it. Tap and hold, you can see just under my finger how it turned white around the layer. Now I can slide and delete, just to delete them off. I can also use the context menu. The context menu has delete. It would have delete all layers, delete some layers, mirror. There we go. Now I can type create your magic. So as I'm typing this, it's doing that casing for me. I can also go through and choose all these different, I can preview each one of these fonts as I scroll through. Isn't that cool? And you can also preview your justification. So we can come in here and type, I like this one. And then we'll hit the green check. Here is create your magic. Well, I spelled it wrong. And in Bernina's right now, what would I have to do? delete it and start over. Do I do that now? No. I come into the lettering menu and I edit my text. And then I can just go ahead, I can say delete your magic, and I can say, actually, I was wrong. Atlantic script is the better choice for me. And of course we can scan, we're gonna do this in just a little bit. We're gonna scan our hoop. For me, this was the big, I can still be a little timid. I will embroider on any type of material. I've embroidered on balsa wood, toilet paper, aluminum, velvet, leather, corduroy. Even if it won't stand still, I'll put embroidery on it. Because we can always make a patch, right? Just has to stand still long enough for me to put the patch on it. So I'm not worried about materials, but for whatever reason, I was worried about the permanence of the jean jacket. I got in my head about it. Wild as someone with tattoos, I understand. But that's just how I am. I was like, what if I don't like it? I don't know, I can't envision it. The scanner to me was the perfect step to help me really envision it. See audition designs on the back of my denim jacket. I scanned the back of this jacket in the hoop, and then I could build out this design, which was really nice because the original design was about half of the amount of quilting stitches on here. And you guys can come touch these and look at them at the break and after. But there's a bunch of quilting stitches on here. And I was like, I started out with about half of them. And I saw with my scan, I could audition it and see it did not look right at all. Actually, if it's not too cumbersome, you can just pass it around. Just pass it around. I was like, no, that doesn't look good. So I kept adding designs. Okay, how about this many? No, I still want more. So I could audition it. It was the last step for me to feel really confident to make this jean jacket look perfect. And then of course, with my placement options, like my pinpoint placement and my laser, I was able to make it look perfect. So I have embroidery up on the front of the jacket and embroidery on the back of the jacket as well. The accuracy of the scanner is going to depend upon the thickness of your fabric. So it's going to be most accurate with one layer of fabric and one layer of stabilizer. As we get into some more dense quilts, some plush stuff, we've put wool in there, we're just gonna lose a little bit of the accuracy. By the way, this is Swiss engineer losing accuracy. This means within a millimeter kind of thing, like this isn't like all of a sudden you can't use it. No. This is the Swiss crossing their I's. No, crossing their T's and dotting their I's over and over and over again. All right, y'all ready to see this scanner work?
Yes.
Beautiful. We're gonna come over to our view toolbar. The view toolbar works in embroidery. This is a different one, right? Up at the top, we have our hoop. This is going to help us select a background for our embroidery that we're gonna do. So I love this. We have our drop-down menu and we can choose color. So let's say we're gonna do black fabric, right? You don't wanna scan black fabric. Why would we take the time to do that when we can just choose black fabric as a background? Now when we bring in an embroidery design, I can just come in, where's my flowers? And see how it's gonna look with that. We have the option to scan the hoop. So, if you learn nothing else from me, this is what you're gonna learn from me. You do not put your hoop on the machine until the machine asks for it. And now with words, it's saying, ensure the area is clear. The giant hoop is giant. It is gonna karate chop you in the chest if you aren't careful, okay? It has happened to me one too many times. When you hit the green check, it is gonna go. It takes a bunch of images of the hoop. It's gonna go faster in a hoop that's this size. It takes just over a minute in the giant hoop. It takes all of these pictures and then it stitches them together. And then here we go. I have a hoop with 2 felt hearts in there. and we can see the hoop. So we can delete it out if we wanted to redo it, or we could just rescan, and then that would show us full screen. We have this wonderful mini folders, which has a lot of these great mini designs, one of which is this sewing machine. Now, of course, I have to be careful with how I'm resizing the sewing machine, right? Because it's an embroidery design. But let me come into the colors tab. I can change, I tend to embroider with Aurifil a lot. It's either Isocord or Aurifil. They're the ones that I love to work with. But it doesn't matter what brand you love to work with. With the push of a button, we can change the brand. So I can come in and do Aurifil. It changed everything to Aurifil with the closest color that matches, right? So let me come into the color wheel. The color wheel is new. We've had the color wheel, but how this color wheel works is different. I can do the slider around and it's gonna change these colors up here, right? But we have an issue, don't we? Because I can't really see the machine. That's the part I need to change first, and it's staying black. So if I tap that color, I can change that individual color. I can change the brightness is what I need to do. And then I can change that color as I please. I'm gonna change it to white so it matches our nice little white machine. And then if I wanted to keep going and doing the slider for the other colors, I could. You guys know me very well at this point. You know that that's plenty for me. I'd stitch this out and call it a day. I got things to do, right? If you want to be more precise, you want that extra assurance, you would go into pinpoint placement. You'd place exactly, you'd turn on the laser, you'd roll down your hand wheel. Things to make sure it's placed exactly perfect. So you get all your options with this machine. You don't have to go through these steps, but you can if you want to. When I'm ready to stitch, I hit the green needle. And now we get our stitch out summary. This stitch out summary is brand new. It is going to gently and lovingly force you to think about these things before you get stitching, right? It's brought a lot of things out of settings and right in front of your face so that you got to choose, how do I want my threads to cut? What's the fabric thickness? And you might not need to change that. I haven't changed it once. But if you're working with big, thick quilts or you're working with leathers, things like that, you might need to change it. This is where we would do single color to change to stitch out in all one color. If I made it to this point without it yelling at me about my presser foot, this is where it would tell me, hey, you still have a 1D on, and I could come in and change it to the presser foot I want. It does say that there is a 9mm stitch plate on. Maybe we want to change that. Maybe you don't. It's not going to require you to. Auto detection of the hoop. Quilt settings. We want to quilt with our quilt settings on if we're doing a actual quilt design. This turns off thread cutting. This turns off thread away mode. We take care of our thread tails ourselves. If you're embroidering and you have regular embroidery settings, you do not hold those thread tails, okay? Promise me, you will not hold those thread tails.